Yeah, well, yeah, you can. services, if you're here in person or if you're watching on YouTube. I'm going to make several announcements now and again later, so if you're here now, I will be repeating, so my apologies for that. If there's an emergency, there are exits everywhere, okay? A door here, out the center back, where you came in, and on both sides of the bima. The whole thing is being streamed, which means anything you say, it could possibly be heard. And as incongruous as this is, even though we're streaming here, we have our amazing volunteer, Josh Mailman, helping us with that stream, we still ask that you keep your phones completely put away, that you don't use them, no pictures, no texting or talking during the service. We're trying to still create a Shabbat atmosphere. This is our concession to the fact that there are people from all over the world who can't make it because of COVID-19. So please make sure those are turned off and put away. This is our regular Shabbat morning service, but it happens that our bat mitzvah, Dahlia, will be leading much of it. Not initially, but as we get more toward the middle. We're going to begin with a series of morning blessings on page 73. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam asher natan l'sechi bina levchem yom v'leinu v'layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam shasani b'tzalmo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam shasani ben Korin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam v'okech ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam albish aromim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam zokef kegufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam akrat al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam she'asa likol tzarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam chamisim tzadik gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam oz Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam ad Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haolam anoten li'ayef koah. And we may be seated. And then one other announcement I forgot to make is please make sure you're wearing your masks at all times with the sometimes exception of the person leading up here. We're going to go all the way to page 134. Psalm 151. Hallelujah, 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 bekodsho, hallelujah, berki aruzao, hallelujah, bigorotav, hallelujah, kerokulo, hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar, hallelujah, benevel bechinor, hallelujah, betofu machol, hallelujah, beminim beukav, hallelujah, 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 betzil tzlei shama, hallelujah, betzil tzlei druva, kol anshama te'aleluya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Page 143. And that's pretty much all for the skipping. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha. Yidbelach, umi yishvelach, umi yarov lach. Elagado yibonarayim konishamayim ba'aretz. Nalelcha nshpecha chavercha nevrechim kodshecha kan ola dibiparkin efsher Adonai. V'kol kravayit shem kodsho. היה מתן צמוד עוזיך, גדול בכבוד שמך, הגיבור לנצח ולנורותיך, המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא. 149. שוכנן מרום וקדוש שמו, וחטאו ורדו צדיקים באדוני, ישרים לבד תהילה. בפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובשום חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. רינו מתמר שמך מכן בכל דור ודור, שכן חובה קוצרים לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות להלל לשבח, לפאר לרומם להדר, לברך להלל או כל עש או כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי עבדך, משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך נר אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, שירו שבחה, הלל וזמרה, עוז וממשלה, נצח גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלכתו בתשבחות, אל ההודאות, הדור הנפלאות, ובוחר בשירי זמרה ולחלקי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויאמר יברך חירותי וימלך מלכותי, וחייכון ויומכון חייכון בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ימרו. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, אל המלמד על יתברך וישתבח יפרע וינשא, יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. ולמין כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה וימרו. Amen. Please rise for the formal call to prayer, the Baruch Hu. It's on page 152. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach, Leolam Va'ed. May be seated. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Yotzerah V'rechos Shechos Shalom U'Varet Hakol. Hakol Yoducha V'Hakol Yeshavtucha. V'Hakol Yoducha V'Hakol. אין כערכך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומי דומה לך. אין כערכך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומי דומה לך. אין כערכך אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכי חיי העולם הבא. אפס בלתך גולל לימוד המשיח, אינו מלך המשיל לתחיית המתים, אלא תור על כל המעשים ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה גודלו וטובו מלא עולם, תעדו גבול סובב ממותו. המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונהדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומישור לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם, ודעת ובינה וחזקאל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ופיקים נוגה, נעזיבם בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים בהם הרצון קונם. האר בכבוד נותנים לשפוט צולה, ורינה לזכר מלכותו, פרה לשמש ויזרח אורה, והתקין צורת הלבנה. שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מערום, תפארת וגדולה, זרעים ואופנים בחיות הקודש. ליל השבת מכל המעשים. We're on 157. ברוך משה אשר מעשה ידיך ואומר אשר שעשית יפארו הסלע תפארת צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו בורא קדושים ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושת תורה, בשירה ובזמרה, מברכים ומשבחים, דברים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים. את שמה אל המלך הגדול והנורא קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם ומלכות שלהם זה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה, להקדיש את עצמם בנחת רוח, צרף רב ונימה, קדושה כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, הארץ כבודו. ופנים החיות הקודש בראש גדול, מנסים למצרפים, אם משקים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ליל ברוך מבוא ייתנו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר באורו, רבה אהבתנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חמלה גדולה ותורה, חמלת עלינו. אבינו מלכנו, בעבור אבותינו, שבתו בך, אבינו מלכנו. ותלמדם חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו למדנו, אבינו האב הרחמן, המרחם רחם עלינו. ותן בלבנו להאמין ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והארנו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה ויראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך, והביאנו לשלום בארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע, באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. We're on page 165 for the Shema. We call upon sister of the Bat Mitzvah, Ariel Scrub, to lead us in Shema Be'ahavta. For the Be'ahavta part, if you're regular, she uses a different tune than we do. Just follow along, and then she's going to continue actually to do the entire rest of the Shema to Torah Tro. And if you want to try to follow along with that, you can as well. Page 165.
Shema
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושננת לבניך ודיברתך, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשתם מלאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך. והיה אם שמע תשמעו על מצוותיי, אשר אנוכי מצווה לכם היום לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיכם ולעבדו בכל לבבכם ובכל נפשכם, ונתתי את ארצכם ביתו יורה ומלכוש, ועשית תגנך ותירשך ויצריך, ונתתי את סבתך לבנתך, ואכלת ושבעת, כי שמרו לכם, פניתם לבבכם, וזרתם, ובראתם אלוהים החיים, והשתחוויתם להם, וחרף אדוני בכם, ויעצר שמיים ולא ימטר, ואדמה לא תיתן את עולת, ובראתם מהרה, מעל הארץ הטובה, אשר אדוני נותן להם, ושמתם את דברי אלה על לבבכם ועל נפשכם, וקשרתם אותם מאוד על ידכם, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניכם, ולימדתם אותם את בניכם לדבר בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען ירבו ימיכם בימי בניכם על האדמה אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותיכם לתת להם, כימי השמיים על הארץ. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף את תרצחלת, והיה לכם לציצית ראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Amen. Adonai Elohechem, Amen. Yasher Koach. So beautifully done. We're on page 170. לדור ודור קיים ושמו קיים, וכיסו נכון ומלכותו, וענתו ליד קיים, ובראב חיים וקיימים. אמת שתהו אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו, יוצאנו צור ישועתנו, ונן מצאנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם. ברוך ומבורך, משה בן שולחן השעה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. שיר החדשה, שיר וגאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדקנו ממך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. to begin the Amidah out loud and together on page 175. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot U'Mevi Goel Livnei V'Neihem L'man Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham U'Vokei Tzara Atah Gibor Le'Olam Adonai Mechayim Eitim Atarav Le'Hoshia Mashiach Ruach U'Morid HaGashem Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayim Eitim B'Rachamim Rabim Tzomech Noflim B'Rofech Olim U'Matir Asurim U'Mekayim Emunato L'Shenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Givurot U'Mito Melach Melech Memid U'Mechayeh U'Matzmiach Yeshua V'Neman Atal Chayot Meitim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeh HaMeitim. Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam Keshem shemakdishim אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב עליה נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול מתנשאים לעומת צרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני במקום חמתנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימי לעולם בעת תשכון תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים ועינינו תראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור ושירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כמלך קדוש קדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We finished the Amidah on our own. It's pages 181 through 192. Either reading the words that are in the book in whichever language you're most comfortable, but it's also a good time for your own private meditation and prayer. 181 through 192. Kihiu liratzoni imrefi, vegioni bi lefanecha, Adonai turi vegoali, Ose shalom bimromav, Uyase shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael, V'imru, Imru, Amen. Yase shalom, Shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol Yisrael, Yase shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'meru amen. Karish Shalem on page 193. Yikra v'yikra shemei Rabba v'yamad yivrachirutev v'amlich machutev v'chayachon v'yamachem v'chayachon beit Yisrael Agalav v'zman kari b'meru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach Ve'olam le'almei omaya Yitbarach v'ishtabach v'barbaram v'yaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudusha b'rihu Le'elam yikol b'chata v'shirata v'shbachata v'nechamata damiram v'yama v'imeru Tikavot sloton v'oton l'chol Yisrael kudama v'hondi v'ishmaya v'imeru Yehei shlama rabba bin shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imeru Oseh shalom b'imromav u'yaseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imeru. Right, so that concludes the Shacharit portion of the service, and we are about to begin the Torah service, which will be led by our Bat Mitzvah Dalia. But before I do that, a few announcements, which I said at the beginning, but I want to repeat. Please leave your masks on over your nose and mouth at all times, except with the possible exception of the person leading, which will really mostly just be Dahlia and me, and when her parents have the Aliyah with her, they certainly can take them off as well. But even if you have a Torah honor here, please do leave your mask on, covering your mouth and nose. So should there be an emergency, there are exits, at least 5 from here, out the center doors, out the door you came in, right here out the side door, and actually on both wings of the bima as well. Now I'm about to call Dahlia up with her parents, and they're going to say a few words to her. They're going to present her with her talit, and you'll be tempted to take out your phones and take a picture. Please don't. Okay, so again, as incongruous as this seems, because the whole thing is being streamed to YouTube and you see a camera right in the middle, we still want to maintain the Shabbat atmosphere, so please, no phone usage at all. Make sure those are turned off and put away. And I think that's it. So at this time, we're going to call upon our Bat Mitzvah Dahlia and her parents, Benjamin and Sabrina, to come on up, and they're going to present her with the Talmud.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Rabbi Tzvi, I want to start by saying thank you so much for not just what you've done in bringing Dahlia to this point in her Bat Mitzvah, but also for being such an incredible role model. I asked Dahlia one day who she thought she wanted as her teacher for Bat Mitzvah. She was surprised that I would even ask the question. She said, Rabbi Tzvi. I responded by asking her again, oh, do you think that she will remember you? The look that she gave me. I don't have any long relationships with the teachers from my life, and for those of you who don't know, they've not been at the same school for several years, and that was truly remarkable for me because it said to me what an incredible example and role model that you've led in her life. That you're not only an important person, but an example of what it means to be so fully engaged with the people that you interact with. And that was very powerful for both of us and also very humbling. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Sabrina and I talked for a long time about mostly around this idea of what it means to transition into adulthood. We hear all the time this sort of declaration, today I'm an adult, but you know, the concepts around what that really means are a little bit elusive. In the bar mitzvah speeches and bat mitzvah speeches from the parents we've heard, you know, the recurring themes generally are around the ideas of you can take control of your life, your responsibility for your life, you can manifest your own destiny. And I don't know for Dali if that means now she feels that she can, you know, manifest some farm animals in her life. So we've talked a lot about what it actually means in a tangible and accessible way. We boiled it down to 3 ideas. And the first, we think, comes down to having clarity of intentions. And this means not just meaning what you say, but also being clear in your mind when you take an action about your own motivations, even when you're doing something that's, you know, not nice, like teasing your sister, for example. Be clear in your own mind about why you're doing it. And it takes great conviction, and it takes honesty, and honesty takes courage. But if you make it a discipline in your life, you will cultivate a great sense of trust in the people that you foster relationships with, and will become a great source of strength for you. Number 2, stop teasing your sister. More broadly, take care of the relationships that you have decided to make important in your life. Focus on your sister because she will be and will always be a very important relationship. Don't take it for granted, and take care of the relationships that are important to you. You will need her and she will need you. And finally, I think that adulthood really comes down to the way in which people make decisions. We see adults that act like children and children that act like adults. And we think this comes through most in the decision-making process. As children decide they want something, and they go after it without thought about what might need to have consequences. And being a good decision maker really is about taking the time to evaluate the possible outcomes of any decision. And so even if you come to a decision point at some point in your life where you need to stand on principle, at least take the time to evaluate the possible outcomes. And with those, I think you'll develop a great sense of purpose in your life and meaning, and hopefully you'll avoid the many pitfalls that many other people take. We also spent some time trying to figure out what really endears you to us. You've been one of the biggest surprises, I think, for me was that you become one of our closest friends and best friends in our life. And one of the things that endears you most to me is your sense of humor. And I remember one day being at home alone and working and hearing a strange ring or buzz and not being able to locate it and tearing the house apart trying to figure out what this thing was. And eventually coming to, I think, cabinet in the midst of a stack of towels, there was an alarm clock that was ringing. I think we all see where this story is going. When Dahlia came home, she said, "Dad, how was your day?" I said, "Fine." "Did anything interesting happen today?" I said, "Well, not that I can think of." She's like, "Are you sure, Dad? Are you sure nothing interesting happened?" And then, of course, I realized that that was a very fond memory, for sure.
When you were 6, we got some chickens. And these birds became pets for you and Ariel. You would go out into the backyard every day and play with them. And not long afterwards, on a Friday night, you took one look at a platter of roast chicken on the Shabbat table and suddenly made the connection between the chicken on the table and the chickens in the yard. And you said, "That's like eating Hazel and Mia and Penny. I won't do it." I wasn't going to make you. So from then on, you decided to become an ethical vegetarian, transitioning over the years to being mostly vegan today. Your convictions run deep. When you feel strongly about something, you follow through with your actions and encourage others to follow suit. This includes animal welfare and the environment, but also your evolving commitment to religious observance. For example, you insisted on walking to shul this morning, all the way from Montclair, which was a distance of over 3.5 miles with a hill between us. Daddy and I have also marveled at the depth to which you embrace the creative process. When you were little, the arrival of packages was a thrill, not so much for what was inside, but because you were eager to harvest all the packaging for the resources and turn them into forts or board games. More recently, your grandparents bought you a sewing machine, which you have been using to turn my old jeans into cute handbags and pencil cases. Your growing skill as a seamstress has special meaning for me, as my mother, for whom you are named, was a very talented sewer, and you seem to have inherited her talent without any input on my part. As you become a bat mitzvah, our wish for you is that you will always stay true to your strong convictions and use them to guide you wisely on the path ahead, wherever it may lead. May you bring your creativity to bear on solving problems, big and small, and bringing beauty and joy to every day, all with a sense of humor. Daddy and I have the honor of presenting you with a talit that is a gift from your Zeta and Grandmommy, who wanted so much to be here with us today, but are watching from Winnipeg. I'll share a message from them. Dear Dahlia, we are in Shul with you this morning, and you do not feel so remote to us. We're so grateful that we can see you and hear you today and feel your joy. We're glad that our granddaughter is able to wear for her bat mitzvah the talit that Zeta brought from Israel for Grandmommy many years ago. The talit was one of the originals designed by Grandmommy's teacher, Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi. He was a founder of the Jewish Renewal Movement, which sought to revitalize Jewish spirituality, especially in younger Jews. He called his creation the Rainbow Talit, and it has inspired many versions around the world. Even at your dad's bar mitzvah, every talit was white with black or blue stripes. Your Rainbow Talit has many stripes and colors of the rainbow, each with meaning Rabbi Schachter derived from Jewish mysticism. Psalm 104 speaks of Hashem wrapping herself in light, like a talit, and stretching out the heavens like a curtain. Dear Dahlia, you grew up with the love of your family, enfolding you and protecting you. May your talit envelop you with the same majestic feeling all your life. Amen.
Go ahead and say the blessing before you put it on. Amen. Yasher Koach, and we're now going to begin the Torah service on page 195. If you have an honor, an aliyah, an ark opening, a Chagban Galila, you have to have your head covered and wear a talit. We have them for you if you don't have one on with you. But for the first ark opening, we called upon friends Arwen Cronin and Margaret Stone to come up. If you just stand by the bima, stand up by the ark doors at this time in preparation for its opening. As Dahlia begins on page 195 with Ein Kamocha.
Ein kamocha ba'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein k'ma'asecha, malchutecha malchut, kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai Eloh, le'olam va'ed, Adonai ozem ha'oitem, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Av ha'rachamim tiva yetzoncha etzion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki lecha levad batachnu, melech el-ram v'nisa Adon olam.
Please rise as the ark is opened, and Mom and Dad come along with up to the bima with Dahlia.
Yivitzo ha'aron, vayomer Moshe, Huma Adonai, ve'yafutzu oivecha, ve'yanutzu mitzanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah. Elohim Beoraita, Letashim Nishalim Delibi, Vadekolama Yisrael, Letahu Lechaim Velishma.
Marshall is now going to hand you the Sefer Torah. He's our Rabbi, and he's not only handing you the Torah, you're taking on the weight of the entire Jewish tradition as you put it on your shoulders. It's called the yoke of the commandments, the Ol Mitzvot. But it's lightened slightly by the joy in observing those commandments, plus a little bit of adrenaline coursing through you right now. All right, so go ahead and turn around, and your mom will have your probably the door open as well, or maybe Dad will hold the microphones and also one or the other. Pre-COVID times I did all this, but
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Gadu Adonai Iti V'nim Ramena Shemo Yachdav.
בשמיים ובארץ, ככל בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני הממלכה, והעמים נעשה כל לראש. רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, לאדון רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, להר קדושו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו.
might have moved slightly, but you'll find it. We may be seated now. So, the Torah portion is Noah, but the part we're going to do is on page 58, chapter 11. The triennial cycle we use here, which means we read a third of each portion each year, and this year we're on all the thirds. Now, in the parent speech, they actually mentioned a couple things. One is they didn't connect your talit to the rainbow of the story of Noah, which of course is also this week's Torah portion, but not the part we're going to read today. Also in that portion, and also mentioned in your parents' talk to you, the vegetarianism, which is also part of Parshat Noah. That may be why you chose these portions, but we don't get the rainbow, and we don't get the covenant with the animals and the vegetarianism. What we get is the story of the Tower of Babel, which is another one which I'm sure you all know quite well, many lessons from it, some of which you will teach us. Also want to point out, so today, this is only meaningful for a few of the people who are in here, but I was reminded by one of your teachers, Allison, that her daughter had Parshat Noah as well. And so did Charlotte Raganese, who is now a 10th grader, and she actually talked about animals and vegetarianism. She's into many of the same things that you are as well. And her brother is here, and actually is a classmate of yours in our Hebrew school. In any case, page 38, chapter 11, verse 1. And at this point, Dahlia is going to be reading all the Torah portions this morning. So I don't call any other Torah readers, which is amazing in itself. And we call her cousins, Jay Goldman and Mona Goldfein, for the first Aliyah. Jay is a Kohen. And knows this place pretty well also. 11, 1 through 4 is the first Aliyah. And we're going to call upon Rabbi Teasing to serve as the other shomer. First part, 11, 1 through 4, everyone spoke the same language, so let's build a tower to make a name for ourselves, the passage says. And Marsha will call the first Aliyah.
V'yazoregen v'shilach kolachosim bo v'nomar amen. Akol havugo de lehevnu kavod la Torah. Kohen Karav Yamdu. Yonah Michael ben Yitzchak v'Sara HaKohen. V'Mariasha bat Elchanan lev Esther Malka. Baruch Shenatan Torah le'emo Yisrael b'kedushato. V'yatem avegim v'nanai lechem chayim luchem hayom.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach, Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed. Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol amim, v'natan lanu haTorah. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayehi chol haaretz safa echat, udvarim achadim. Vayehi binosam ikedem, vayimtzeu vik'ah, be'eretz shinar vayishvu sham, vayamru ish are'ehu, hava nivana levenim, v'nisarfa lisarfa, utehi lahem havena le'aven, v'hachemar haya lehem lachomer. Vayamru hava nivne lanu ir umigdal v'shov hashemayim v'naseh lanu shem penafutz al pnei chol haaretz.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet. Amen.
Yashikoah. Second Aliyah, verses 5 through 9, God scatters them and doesn't like what is seen, so Navla babbles their speech. Verses 5 through 9. For the second Torah reader, we call upon, or not Torah reader, we know that's Dahlia, sorry about that. Our second Aliyah, we call upon friends Harvey and Rona Weinstein.
Yamdu, Chaim Moshe ben Eliezer v'Brina v'Rachel Tzipora bat Alexander v'Leah Sheni.
And in talking to them earlier today, they spent many years at the synagogue where I was bar mitzvah, Temple Bethel in San Mateo.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach,
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayered Adonai lirot et ha'ir ve'et hamigdal asher banu bnei ha'adam. Vayomer Adonai hen am echad v'safa achat lechulam v'zeh hachilam la'asot ve'ata le'batzer mehem kol asher yazmu la'asot. Hava nerda benav lasham svatam asher lo yashme'u ish svat re'ehu vayafetz Adonai otam misham al panei chol haaretz vayachdalu livnot ha'ir al kain kara shema bavel kisham balal Adonai sefat chol haaretz Umisham hafitzam Adonai al penei kol ha'aretz.
Venan lanu Torah temet, V'chaye olam nata b'kefenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Third Aliyah, we call upon friends Noah and Ronit Stern. We now get a list of names connecting the various generations. In this one, it's Shem, Arpachshad, and Shalach.
Yamdu, Noach ben Reuben begila, Ronit bat Chaim v'Rachel shlishi.
Baruch Hu Adonai Barak.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ele todot Shem, Shem b'me'at shana, vayoled et Arpachshad, shnatayim achar hamabu, vayechi Shem, acharei holido et Arpachshad, 500 shana, vayoled banim uvanot, ve'Arpachshad chai, 35 shana, vayoled et Shalach, Vayechi Arpachshad, acharei holido et Shalach, 30 shana, Shalosh shanim ve'arba shana, vayoled banim uvanot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chaye olam nata b'kefenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher Koach. All right, the fourth Aliyah, verses 14 through 17, Shalach, Ever, and Peleg. We call upon friends Erica Stern-Klein and Itai Klein for the fourth Aliyah.
Yamdu, Ariela bat Zalman, Raniel, Esther ben Evid, Itai ben Chaim, David v'Rachel, Revi'i.
Baruch Adonai mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה Adonai נותן התורה.
Amen.
ושלחי 30 שנה, ויולד את עבר, ויחי שלח, אחרי הולידו את עבר, 33 שנים ו400 שנה, ויולד בנים ובנות, ויחי עבר, 34 שנה, ויולד את פלג, ויחי עבר, אחרי הולידו את פלג 30 שנה ו400 שנה, ויולד בנים ובנות.
ברוך אתה Adonai Eloheinu מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם, אתה בטובנו. ברוך אתה Adonai נותן התורה.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Right, the fifth Aliyah, verses 18 through 21 in chapter 11, Peleg, Rehu, and Saruk. And Rabbi Tzipi, you are the next Aliyah.
Ta'amah, Rav Tzipora bat Rav Yosef the Zahara, Chamishi.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. אמן. ויחי פלג 30 שנה, ויולד את etra'u, vayechi feleg, acharei holido etra'u, tesha shanim u'matayim shana, vayoled banim u'vanot, vayechi re'u, shtayim u'shoshim shana, vayoled et serug, vayechi re'u, acharei holido et serug, sheva shanim u'matayim shana, vayoled banim u'vanot.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Yasher koach. Right, the sixth aliyah, we're now on Sarug, Nahor, and Terach. And the sixth aliyah we call upon Harlan Simon for the aliyah. It's commemorating the yortzeit of his beloved nephew, who died just far too young. A young man named Aaron Belkin, a great guy. And I said this last night, I'll say it again, one of the best blank-eating grins you ever saw in your life.
Ya'amad Naphtali Gedalia ben Kalafdan Shishi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamporach.
Baruch Adonai Hamporach.
Baruch Adonai Hamporach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. Vayechi Serug 30 shana, vayoled et Nahor, vayechi Serug, acharei holido et Nahor 200 shana, vayoled banim uvanot, vayechi Nahor 29 shana, vayoled et Tarach, vayechi Nahor, acharei holido et Terach, 19 shana u'me'at shana, vayoled banim u'vanot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Amen. Yasher koach. And the seventh aliyah has to do with, once again, we're now doing some generations. But we end with Avram, and then Avram left, he married Sarai, and that turns into Abraham and Sarah. Their names changed. They left Ur for Canaan and settled in Haran. So the story, the continuity of the Jewish people continues with this. But the rabbinic sages wonder, wait a second, Noah and Avram, they were alive at the same time, and yet the world was not redeemed yet. So it's a very interesting idea. To imagine these two together, two of the most righteous people who ever walked the earth together, and yet even then, we're incapable of redeeming the world. So we call upon Mom and Dad, Ben, Jim, and Strub, and Sabrina Seal for the seventh aliyah.
Yamdu Michael ben Tzvi v'Ruth v'Simcha bat David v'Ruth Shvi'i.
Baruch Adonai Hamporach.
Baruch Adonai מבורך לעולם ועד. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayechi terach shivim shana, vayoled et Avram, et Nahor, ve'et Haran, ve'ele toldot terach. Terach holid et Avram, et Nahor, ve'et Haran, ve'Haran holid et Lot, vayamot Haran el penei terach aviv, ve'eretz miladato be'ur kasdim, vayikach Avram ve'Nahor lahem nashim, Shem eshet Avram Sarai, ve'Shem eshet Nahor Milka, Ataran avi Milka ve'Viska, dehi Sarai akara ein la valad, vayikach terach et Avram beno, ve'Lot ben Haran ben beno, ve'et Sarai kalato, eshet Avram beno, vayitzu itam me'ur kasdim, la'lechet artza Canaan, vayavo ad Haran, vayishvu sham, vayu yemei terach 5 shanim u'matayim shana, vayamot terach be'Haran.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam nata b'tzocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher Koach. Please rise for the Chatzikash.
Yikadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah, Mandirach Yirteh v'yamlich Malchuteh, L'chayech Yom Echad L'chayech L'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'bizman kariv imeru. Amen. Yishmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam u'lam le'omayah. Yitarach v'yishtabach v'yarvi Raman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei l'kudashah ve'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram be'alma v'imeru. Amen.
And we'll repeat those last few verses as Dahlia herself, as Bat Mitzvah, will be chanting the Aliyah as well as reading that final portion. Tamod, 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 Bachra Bat Mitzvah, Dahlia Bat Michael V'Simcha, Maftir Chazak. You may be seated.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayikach Avram v'Nahor lahem nashim, Shem eshet Avram Sarai, v'Shem eshet Nahor Milka, Ataran avi Milka ve'Viska, v'tehi Sarai akara ein la valad, vayikach terach et Avram beno, ve'Lot ben Haran ben beno, ve'et Sarai kalato, eshet Avram beno, vayitzu itam me'ur kasdim, la'lechet artza Canaan, vayavo ad Haran vayishvu sham, vayu yemei terach 5 shanim u'matayim shana, vayamot terach be'Haran. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natamanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
All right. First, an inclusive Mishaberach blessing for all who read. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Korach Avalea Yivarechet Korach Karim Asher Elu Hayom Yivramakom Yitvot HaTorah Likvot HaShabbat HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yivarechotam V'et Mishpachotam V'Yiflach Bracha V'Hatzlacha V'Chol Masei Mikol Sherechehem V'Nomar
Amen.
And for all those who are ill, we're thinking today of Scott Lawrence, Dahlia Bat Razel, Barbara Rose, Lou Burrow, Julia Oak, Karina Golabat Hadav Yehuda Tzvi, Lehudit Bat Shena, Shabtai Dobin Shimon Moshe, Manuel Ben Zara, Ray Ranshaw, Missy Rosen, Albert Alter, Rosie Gurman, Leah Shimon Lazar, Justin Hardy, Yechiel Ben Eliza, Eva Abrams Heimowitz, Martin Rosenthal, Shulamit Bat Leah, Miriam Bat Yehudit, Adele Mendelson, David Snyder, Lorena Gottschalk, Carmel Boria Bat Ariel Sara, Jeff Wade, Yona Yosef Ben Shmuel, Jackie Cohen, Yehudi Bat Miriam Aharon. If you have any other names of those who are ill, please just go ahead and say them out loud at this time. Yishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah U'yarech v'Rachel et ha'olim El Narefana lahem El Narefana Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah U'yarech v'Rachel et ha'olim. May God bless and heal all those who are ill, and may we continue to be with them in their time of need. We rise now for the Hadba and Beliva, the lifting and dressing of the Torah. We call upon friends Corey and Jonas Chernick.
Yamad Magvir Yamad Hagalel.
Vezot HaTorah Asher Sa Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai B'Yad Moshe Eitz Chaim Ila Machazikim Ba'etom Le'amerusha Eitz Chaim Ila Machazikim Ba'etom Le'amerusha So we're about to do the Haftarah, which you can find on page 65. Page 65. So this Haftarah comes from Isaiah chapter 54, and there's a Sephardic shorter version just goes verses through 10, but Dahlia would have none of that and wanted to do the fuller Ashkenazic version. What she may not know is that means you'll also be invited to do it again in August, because this is one of the only Haftarot that's actually repeated. It's considered one of the Haftarot of comfort after Tisha B'Av, so we also do it in August. And it's connected to the Torah portion of Noah because it mentions the flood, right? Bad things happening and good things will come later. Although that's not the part we read in the Torah today, that's the connection to the Torah portion. When Dahlia is done chanting the blessings and the Haftarah itself, and then the final blessing, we're going to stand at our seats and we're going to sing Sivan Tov and Mazel Tov, and Rabbi Tzipi will do her, Mizrahi ovulation, or whatever it's called, and just to increase the joy in the room. But wait till she goes through that blessing. I will disappear for a few moments when she starts. I'm going to check in on our Tfilat Yeladim program, our sort of first grade through fourth grade, like a junior congregation. So don't worry, I'll be back.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nevi'im tovim v'ratzav v'divrayhem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'nevi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Rani yakara lo yelada hitzchi rina v'tzahali lo chala ki rabim neshomema mibnei ve'ula amar Adonai herchivi makom ochalech v're'ot mishkanotayich yetu al tachsochi ha'erichi ne'tarayich v'tedotayich chazeki ki yamin u'smol tifrotzi v'zarech goyim yirash v'arim neshamot yashivu al tiri ki lo tevoshi ve'al tikalmi ki lo tachpiri ki lo shet alumayich tishkachi v'cherpat amanutayich lo tiskeri od ki vo alayich osayich Adonai tzvaot shemo v'goalech kedosh Yisrael Elohei chol haaretz yikareh ki cha'isha azuva v'tzuvat rach karach Adonai ve'eshet neurim ki timaes amar Elohayich ve'rega katan azavtich uvrachamim dolim akabtzich ve'shetzef ketzef histarti panai rega mimech u'v'chesed olam richamtich amar go'alech Adonai ki me noach zot kli asher nishbati me'avor me noach od al haaretz kein nishbati nikzof alayich umigarbach ki haharim yamushu v'hagvaot tmutena v'chasti meitech lo yamush uvrik shlomi lo tamut amar merachamech Adonai aniya sa'ara lo nuchama hine anochi marbitz b'kuch avnaich v'sadetich b'sapirim v'samti kadkod shimshotayich v'she'arayich le'avnei ekdach v'chol gvulech le'avnei chefetz v'chol banayich limudei Adonai v'rav shalom banayich b'tzaka tikonani rachaki me'oshek ki lo tirai rumim chlita ki lo tikrav elayich hengor yagur efes noti nigar bitach elayich v'pol hinanochi barati charash nofeach be'esh pech לחם ומוציא כלי למעשהו ואנוכי בראתי משחית לחבל כל כלי יצור רגלייך לא יצלח בכל לשון תקום איתך למשפט תרשיעי זאת נחלת עבדי אדוני וצדקתם מתי נאום אדוני הוי כל צמא לכו למים אשר אין לו כסף לכו שברו ואכלו ולכו שברו בלא כסף ובלא מחיר יין וחלב למה תשקו כסף בלא לחם ליגיעכם ולא לסובה שמעו שמוע אלי ויאכלו טוב ותתענג בדשן נפשכם הטו אוזניכם ולכו אלי שמעו ותחי נפשכם בחרתם לכם ברית עולם חסדי דוד הנאמנים הן לאומים נתתיו נגיד ומצווה לאומים הן גוי לא תדע תקרא וגוי לא ידעוך אליך ירוצו למען אדוני אלוהיך ולקדוש ישראל כפארך ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם צור כל עולמים צדיק בכל הדורות האל הנאמן האומר ועושה המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ונאמנים דבריך ודבר אחד מדבריך אחורי לא ישוב ריקם כי המלך נאמן ורחמן אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הנאמן בכל דבריו רחם על ציון כי היא בית חיינו ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו ברוך אתה אדוני משמח ציון בבניה שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו על כיסא לא ישב זר ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד על התורה ועל עבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
מקדש השבת
Sit down for a few minutes, take a little bit of a rest. And just to further impress you, Dahlia forgot her specially marked up Haftorah booklet that she practiced from, so I just gave her the regular book and no problem, right? So she knew it incredibly well. All right, we're now going to turn to some of our additional prayers. starting with the prayer for the country on page 223. And if you have one of these honors, you don't have to have a tallit, but you do need to have your head covered. Prayer for the country, we call upon friend Dylan Morantz.
Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask you to bless our country, its government, its leaders, its citizens, and its land. We offer a prayer of gratitude for the precious gift of living in a land blessed with sublime physical beauty, individual freedom, economic abundance, and a rich, magnificent history. We offer a prayer of thanksgiving for those who came before us, those whose sacrifices created a strong and vibrant nation. We acknowledge that there are those in our country who are suffering as well. We offer a prayer of hope for those whose cups are empty, for those whose freedoms have been curtailed, and for those who have not been able to share fully in all our country's blessings. We offer a prayer of support to the leaders of our government, understanding that leading a nation with such diversity and freedom is a difficult and daunting task. We offer a prayer of action to the citizens of our nation, that we may understand our obligation to be involved in making our country a better place for all who live here. Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask you to bless our country, its government, its leaders, its citizens, and its land, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Mr. Koach. Prayer for Israel, we call upon friend Sherry Weiser. It is on page 224.
Our God that is heaven, rock of Israel, and its Redeemer, bless the state of Israel, the first flowering of our redemption. Shield her with the wings of your loving kindness. Spread over her the shelter of your peace. Send your light and your truth to the heads of your state, her ministers and her advisors. Restore them with good counsel before you. Strengthen the hands of those who defend your holy land. Bequeath to them our God's salvation. Adorn them with a crown of triumph, and grant peace in the land and eternal joy to its inhabitants. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Mr. Koach. Prayer for peace, page 225 and 226. We call upon friend Sadie Nystrom.
May it be your will before you, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors, to abolish war and the spilling of blood from this world, and continue great peace and miracles in the world, so that nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they study war anymore, so that they will come to recognize and know, all who dwell on earth, the singular truth that we have not come into this world for dispute and conflict, nor for hatred, jealousy, provocation, or bloodshed.
Yeah, there is a second page on 226. I mean, we could stop there, but...
Arbi, that is heaven, rock of Israel, and its...
No.
Oh, the other page. Therefore, we have come to this world only to know you, to bless you internally. Therefore, you will have compassion upon us and fulfill us for us that which is written in Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you will lie down, and there will be no terror. And I will remove evil beasts from the land, and destruction will not cross into your land. Let justice flow like water, religiousness like a mighty stream. Let the earth be filled with the knowledge of Adonai, like the waters fill the sea. And let us say,
Amen. Pastor Koach. All right, Ashrei, for the first time, our Kita Zion class at Temple of Abraham will come up and recite the Ashrei together. Masks on, prayer books with you. Yeah, I see a few of you hiding, and you're coming up to him. Great. Glad to see you. Page 231.
Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, ojihalu chatzela.
Ashrei Am Shekachalo, Ashrei Am Shadonai Eloha.
Tehila le'agid, aravim chalavai hamelech, elavashim chalelam ba'ed.
Bechol yom avachecha, v'halashim chalelam ba'ed.
Gadol Adonai hu lo me'od, ve'lidu ato ein chaker. Adar kedod hodecha, v'divrei gilotecha asicha. Zecher avtucha yavidu, ve'tzidkatecha yeraninu. Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachmanav kol ma'asav. Kevod malchutecha yomeru, u'v'rachai yadaberu. Malchutecha malchut kol ha'amim, v'neshamatecha kol dor v'ador.
Great first time together. We rise to the return of the Sefer Torah to the Bar. Yehalu et Shem Adonai, Kizkav Shemo Levado, Odo Aleret, Veshamayim, Mayarem Keret Le'amo, Tehila Lechol Chasidav, Livnei Yisrael Am Kirov. Hallelujah. We're on page 235 for Mizmor LeDavid. We're not doing the full Hakafot these days because of COVID. 235, Dahlia will be leading us in Mizmor LeDavid.
Mizmor LeDavid. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim.
Kol Adonai ba'akoa, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shober azim, Vaishaber Adonai et parzei ha'adon.
Vayarkidem kemo egel, livnon vesiryon, kemo vein re'elim.
Kol Adonai chotzeh lavot esh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yechol el hayalo.
Vayechesof ya'arod, uvhechalo, kulo omer kavod.
Adonai lama b'yah, Shabbayeshev Adonai melech le'olam, Adonai os le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech le'am shalom. I'd like to invite Noah Weinberger and Lily Roberts, friends, to come on up now and open the ark. So yeah, go all the way up there. we'll meet you up there. Ki lekato natati lachem torati altazovu Beitz hayini lemachazima Betor chema merusha derachema darheinoam Bechol netivoteha Shalom, Mashiveinu, Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Hadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Amen. We may be seated, and now Talia is going to interpret a portion for us, giving us the drash, the sermon, the Devar Torah of the day. So we can close our books for a few moments.
Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to my Bar Mitzvah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Today's Parsha is Noah, and it is in Bereshit. The part I read contains the story of the Tower of Babel, and then it lists the generations. I want to focus on the main part of the story, the language problem. For context, this happened a couple generations after God showed his strength, compassion, and power by flooding the earth to rid it of chutzpahdik people. In the story, the people build a tower to try and make their names known. Vayomru, Hava nivne lanu ir umigdal v'rosho v'shamayim, v'naseh lanu shem. And they said, "Come, let us build us a city and a tower with its top in the sky, to make a name for ourselves, else we shall be scattered all over the world." When God saw what they were doing, he mixed up their languages, so there were many being spoken among them. It is believed to be 70 languages. Then the people stopped building the tower, and God scattered them all over the face of the earth. Al Cain karash ma Bavel, Ki Sham Balal Hashem Sfat Kol Haaretz. That is why it was called Babel, because there God confounded the speech of the whole earth. This is how the Tower of Babel got its name. There are two main questions that I would like to discuss. The first one is, what was so terrible about building a tall tower that they needed punishing? I read a midrash about the building of the Tower of Babel from Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer that addresses this question. It says, if a man fell down and died, no heed was given to him. But when a brick fell down, they stopped work and wept, saying, "Woe unto us, when will another be brought up in its stead?" This is problematic because obviously human life is more valuable than a brick. I think that in this scenario, God mixed up their languages because he wanted them to have more empathy. If you can't understand someone with just words, you have to use empathy to figure out what they want. Harashbam and Haradak say that the people of that generation wanted to build a tall building with a statue holding a sword on top, to defy God and make war against him, and to make it clear that they were the ones in control, that they were the gods. The Lubavitcher Rebbe agrees and points out that they built the tower only to glorify themselves and not to acknowledge God in any way. In this case, God got angry at their selfishness and arrogance. When I think of people knowing better than everyone else, I think of people today who are rebelling against the laws of nature and science, the laws that God created, like climate change, where people are destroying the earth for personal benefit, like the people who refuse to believe that there is a deadly virus going around and refuse to put on a mask and get vaccinated because they don't believe in science. They are only thinking of themselves and not the people who they could potentially be harming. My second question is, what does mixing up languages even mean? Chris Cooney says that everybody actually knew all the supposed 70 languages, and each person had one that they were in the habit of using. When God mixed up their languages, he made everyone forget how to speak all of them except the one they were in the habit of using. Radak says that after mixing up the languages, God didn't scatter the people. Rather, the people naturally moved to different parts of the earth because they didn't speak the same language. I heard an opinion that the mixed-up languages were actually disagreements between people who were not willing to be open-minded and listen to ideas and opinions different than their own. People were so close-minded that other people's opinions were like a foreign language. This also reminds me of people in the pandemic who deny others' feelings. I can't help but notice how this whole scattering of languages was like our lives during quarantine. We were scattered and had a hard time communicating with each other. We had to learn new ways to communicate like Zoom, but it was not the same. Not being able to be with my friends made me very lonely, something that I'm sure is true for most of us. In the future, we should all try to be more mindful about communication. We should make an effort to reach out to our friends and family regularly so no one feels alone. There are three main things that I would like people to take away from this parsha. The first is the value of being humble. Too much pride can blind us to what's really important, like faith, family, and friends. The second is the importance of listening to others. While you may think that you are right about something, other people always have something to say. In other words, don't be a know-it-all. The last thing that I would like people to take away is to respect the laws of nature, the laws of God. Respect the earth and don't force things that aren't meant to be. As part of the Remember Us Holocaust Project, I am remembering Janine Jaffe, who perished in the Holocaust at age 9 and never got a chance to celebrate her bat mitzvah. I am grateful that I can celebrate mine and would now like to thank everybody who helped me get here today. First and foremost, my family. Thank you so much for all of your help and support and all of the planning that you did for this event. Mom, thank you for being generally awesome in every way. I love spending time with you, whether it's in the form of a short drive somewhere or an afternoon shopping. Thanks for being so supportive of my decisions and so fun to be around. Dad, there are so many reasons you are awesome. I love our comical conversations, and you tolerate a surprising amount of my silliness. I really enjoy assembling things with you, even though I do most of the work. Thanks for letting me express myself. Thank you to Ariel, my hilarious sister. You are very funny and never fail to make our family laugh. I remember one time we were on a long road trip, and you, about 5 years old, said, "I'm nauseous." My mom immediately turned around and asked very seriously, "Do you need a plastic bag?" You then paused for a bit and replied with, "Wait, what does nauseous mean?" And the whole car busted out laughing. There are so many more stories like this, but you get the point. You always make me laugh, even when we are in the middle of a heated argument. I would like to thank my Zeta and Grandmommy for being awesome grandparents. I love spending time with you guys, and I'm sad that you can't be here today. Thank you for this beautiful talit. Whenever I wear it, I'll think of you. A special thanks to Jay and Mona for being an important part of my early Jewish education. We are very grateful to have you as our only local family, and I love celebrating Jewish holidays with you. Thank you to all of my teachers at OHDS for my amazing education, and thank you to Dr. B for leading a group of people who walked here from Berkeley today. I would like to thank all of my friends for being so supportive, whether that's in the form of goofing off at lunch, calling late at night to do a homework assignment, or making me feel better when I really need it. You guys are always there for me. In particular, I would like to thank Sadie, my best friend since we were 5. In the 8 years that we've known each other, we've had so many fun times together and told each other so much. Rabbi Tzipi, at Tehillah, I would always watch as you brought the bar or bat mitzvah on the stage and danced around arm in arm with them while the whole school sang Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov. After that, you would tell everyone how little and shy and adorable they were when you first met them and how much they've grown. I would eagerly sing and clap and wait for when it would be my turn to dance on stage while the whole school sang for me. Unfortunately, Tehillah closed in 2018, and among other reasons, I was very sad because I would never get to do that. A little while ago, I learned you were tutoring people for their bar bat mitzvahs, and I told my mom that I wanted you to tutor me. Then about 7 months ago, we had our first lesson together. You were so patient with me when it sometimes took me so long to sing a word right. Thank you for being such a great teacher, and I'm so happy that you can be part of my simcha. Thank you to Rabbi Bloom for helping me write this Dvar Torah and for meeting with me about what prayers to lead. I also want to thank everybody for coming. I'm so glad we could be here today in person. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach. Stay right where you are. We're going to call upon the president of the congregation, David Goodwin, to say a few words, and he's going to give you a few gifts.
terrific job you did. Thorough, great job of reading. Having on an anniversary of my own bar mitzvah, thought, okay, I'm going to do every one of the Torah readings, and realizing about halfway through that it was an amazing amount of work. I'm really impressed with everything you did. And with your clear voice and your enunciation, I can't help but think that you may end up as governor of California or something. Anyway, on behalf of the Board of Directors of Temple Beth Abraham, the Men's Club, and the Women of TBA, we have a number of gifts for you, which thanks to the pandemic I'm not going to get out and enumerate, but you'll be surprised when you get home. And many congratulations. Well,
I'm just realizing there's one gift missing in here, which I'll get you later. And I also forgot it with last week's bar mitzvah for Ruthie, so for some reason you're watching, you get the same gift. There's a dreidel for you, a wooden dreidel, and that's because from our youth groups, Dreidel, AZA, and Brooklyn BBG, which you joined when you're in 8th grade. We hope that you will join with them. That's our 8th through 12th social, mostly social, but they do other community service and religious projects as well. So we hope that you will be part of that. So that's the final gift. Now, I also want to say a few words to you, some words of Torah, and a little bit about you. So first of all, when it comes to the Tower of Babel, one of the main lessons is communication. And wow, you are fantastic at communicating. David alluded to the clarity in your voice as you gave that drosh, some of which I actually hadn't even seen before, which, very, very well done. But wow, the amount of Torah, the amount of Haftarah that you read, I mean, it was really, really impressive. I think you're probably one of these kids who we don't want to take for granted because you just do everything really well. And so the expectations of you, and as you continue to go into your teenage year, are probably going to be high, and you usually meet them. It's okay if you don't sometimes, but it was just so incredibly impressive to see that. And it's even more than you all think. Rabbi Tziki is a fantastic tutor, but hasn't worked with us in a while, and so didn't necessarily realize some of the prayers that we are still doing here that you were to lead. And you learned like 3 of the hardest ones in the last 2 weeks. When we met on the phone, I said something like, it's kind of late, it's okay, we'll fill in the gaps. And you're like, nah, I can learn this. And even the one you said, no, I don't think I can do it, you also learned. So just incredibly impressive the way you communicated words of Torah and the Hebrew words, the prayers today. Also, the story of the Tower of Babel is about working together. They don't do so well, although, they kind of do, right? They built the tower, at least at the beginning, they do really well. And your family, your parents, and you together have helped to really build the community today, right? Bringing together all parts of the Jewish community to come together today. Orthodox, conservative, reform, renewal was also mentioned today. All here together, all kinds of questions. Well, how can we make this kosher enough for these folks, but how can we also meet the standards that we have here at Temple Beth Abraham? We have Tehillah of blessed memory and Open Hebrew Day School all here together today, and we want to thank you for bringing the community together in that way. So those are a couple lessons. But I also want to tell a little bit, it has nothing to do with you, but a little bit about some other lessons that are inherent in this Tower of Babel, which you hinted at already. Actually, one more thing. I'm also just really impressed that you can sew. There was actually, we had a student, her name is Simone Rotman, who actually sewed her own bat mitzvah dress. So it's too late for that, but, maybe graduation or something. So something to aspire to. All right, but now thinking about the Tower of Babel, right? You mentioned at least 3 different reasons. What was their sin? What did they do that was so wrong? What was the problem, right? Was it the way they treated one another? And you told the famous midrash about how they didn't care about if a person fell off, but a brick, that was the tragedy. And then, what was it about them not being humble, which you mentioned, them thinking that they were so great? Or was it possibly about them trying to match God's power, which God didn't like? And a sort of humanist approach to that, people say, well, why does God have such a big ego? Well, I think that God understands that humans with too much power and too much technology, with power equivalent to God, can really be a terrible thing because humans are not God. But we do have the power to be like God. We have the power to destroy worlds. We can create nuclear bombs. We can destroy the planet through the choices that we make and how we use the precious resources that we have. So we have achieved that power. And actually, if you look at the story, the words specifically don't say, look at what they've done. God basically says something like, if they can do this, imagine what else they can do. I think God is, in a sense, anticipating the way that humans can misuse technology, which also leads to the way we can misuse communication. We have World Wide Web now. We have an internet. We can communicate with each other. We have Google Translate and all these things in ways that we can actually speak the same language, yet even with all that technology to literally speak the same language, we're speaking totally different languages. And we're completely not able to talk to each other anymore. We don't have empathy. People sit in their internet silos and they only talk to people who agree with them already. And so we're failing to be able to solve problems together, even though we have the technology. It's a bizarre twist, but I see all this in the Tower about. So today, what you did was show us what it's like when someone puts their mind to things, when a person has empathy, and when they communicate well. I was not kidding when I said, yes, you're going to be asked to read more Torah here, you're going to be asked to read Torah on the high holidays, you're going to be asked to read that Haftorah again in August, and we all can't wait. This was just beautiful to see today. So mazel tov to your parents, to your family, and to all of us who are gathered here today. We're going to go up to the ark now as I'm going to invoke the priestly blessing upon you. Please rise. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God lift the divine face toward you and grant you peace. Amen. All right, we're going to remain standing, and you don't quite get to relax yet, as it's Musaf service time. Page 239. It begins with the Chatzi Kaddish. Page 239.
Yikadal, Yikadash, Shmei Rabbah. Nama Dibracher Tevel Michmachute. Lechaye Chonu Yomechon. Uchaye Decho Beit Yisrael. Bagala, Ubizman Kari. Bineru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach. Le'olam Le'amaya. Yivarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudashah b'rechu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram ve'alma v'neru. Amen.
We begin the Amidah out loud and together once again. 241.
Adonai, Sephatai Tiftachu, Fia Yitehilatecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Kornei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot, Umevi Goel Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Makin Abraham U'Foked Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mashiach Ruach U'Mori Hashem Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayev Hanim Rabbi. Somech Noflim Verofet Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayen Emunato, Vishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Geburot, Umidom Elav, Ve'admeni Tumekayen, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lehachayot metim, Baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh hametim. Na'aritzecha v'na'akdishecha, kesod tziyah, sarfei kodesh, hamakdishim, shimcha b'kodesh, kakatu al yad nevi'echa, v'karazeh el zeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech kol haaretz, Kevodo, Kevodo malei olam, Misher tav sholim zeh lazeh, Ayeh mekom Kevodo, le'umatam baruch yomeru, Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo hu yifen berachamim, ve'alchon am hamyachadin shemo, Erev v'boker b'chol yom tamid. Pamayim be'ahava shema omrim. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Rabbeinu, Malkeinu, Mosheinu, Ve'hu Yoshmienu Merachama, Sheni B'nei Kohai, Sheni B'nei Kohai. V'yot lachem Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohim, U'divrei kodechecha katuv lemor, V'lach Adonai le'olam, Elohai etzion, Le'dor v'dor v'aleluya. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha. Ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatecha naqdish, v'shivchecha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush, le'olam, le'olam va'ed. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha. Ki omelech gadol, gadol v'kadosh, gadol v'kadosh ata. Ki omelech gadol, gadol v'kadosh, gadol v'kadosh ata. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
Amen. We continue on our own, pages 247 to 258. Also a good time for private meditation and prayer. Kaddish Shalem, you will find on page 259.
Yikadal v'yikadash me'rabah. Me'alma dibrach l'rteva l'mahuteh. V'chayachon u'yomechon u'chayedech l'chol beit Yisrael. V'akala v'zman kari v'himeru. Amen. Yehi me'rabah me'vorah. Ve'alam ve'amaya yivarach. Yivarach v'yishtavach v'yit'ar v'yit'ram v'yitnaseh. V'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei kedusha. Rechu. Le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'yimeru. Amen. Titkabal tzilotahon u'tehon dechol Yisrael. Kadam avuhon divishma v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shlom harabamit shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen.
Yasher Koach. It's Ein Keloheinu time, but we're waiting for some of the younger kids to come up. And if you're a younger kid and you're here and you want to help lead it, it's a nice, sweet experience when you're done. I think they're on their way. In the meantime, while we're waiting for them, I'm going to explain how the Kiddush lunch is going to work. So, immediately after Don Long, we're going to stay in here, we're going to rise, and we're going to do Kiddush and Motzi from the Bima. However, if you want to do your own individual Motzi, we have washing stations down in the courtyard. But you need to pick up your food with your masks on in the social hall. You'll come into the social hall, pick up your food from the servers, and then take it outside to eat it. And there are tables outside under shade. Don't be offended if I don't eat at the table. I sit by myself on the grass, and then I put on my mask and talk to people. So, but people need to do whatever their own comfort level is. So that's how it's going to work. Come on out, come later, kids. If there are any out here who want to come up and join us. Still more coming? Alright, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ein Eloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Eloheinu, Mi Kadoneinu, Mi Kemalkeinu, Mi Kemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adoneinu, Nodel Emalkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shetiru, Ahotenu, Lefanecha Yetorecha. All right, go see David right there. And we rise now for the Aleinu, and I think, Joel, you're coming up once again. 263. Aleinu l'shabbat l'adon ha'kol, l'tefilah l'celebration, shalom.
קרוב השמיים ממעול, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אלינו, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעלה ועל הארץ
seated as we lovingly recall the memory of our departed relatives and friends whose yortsites we observe during the coming week, thinking especially today of Richard Ballant, Annette Barani, Aaron Belkin, Esther Brodke, Stacy Cohn, Harry Diamond, Sam Fox, Morris Freemark, Henry Garfinkel, Sam Garfinkel, Emil Goodman, Lisbeth Gross, Louis Herskovitz, Michael Kotzen, Craig Palmer, Samuel Platoff, May Rosen, Siegfried Saunders, Simon Sanders, Robert Schechter, Henry Schmulowitz, Joy Seltzer, May Shane, Lauren Siegel, Dave Siever, Jeanette Somers, Mildred Stone, Morris Treatwasser, Hannah Siefred, Max Turchin, and Ann Youssef and Ben Wissat. We are in the Shloshim, the 30-day mourning period for Ruth Glazer, the mother of Steve Glazer, and Cantor Richard Kaplan. The memories of all who are with us, we ask all who are mourning or observing yortzeit, as well as anyone else who would choose to do so, to rise for the mourner's Kaddish at this time. It's on page 267. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayechon beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman karev v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach, le'olam lomei omaya, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei kudsha, l'rechu, la'ela, min kol berchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, v'amiran v'yalma, v'yibru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yibru, amen. Oseh shalom b'rama, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, V'imru, amen. Zichronam livracham, may the memory of the people you've come to say Kaddish will be a blessing to you always. And let us say, amen. All right, I already explained about the Kiddush lunch and how that works. So remember, stay here while we do the blessings, and then you can either eat right away or say your own individual notes, etc. We've got lots of activities coming up. They are basically our regular activities. We have Sunday morning adult ed with Nitzia Shaket. We have Wednesday evening via Zoom Hebrew class. It's alphabet, learning the beginning of the alphabet, Hebrew. And it starts this Wednesday. So if something you want to take, you want to start at the beginning, you have a few more days to think about it and join us. Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. we have restarted our Torah study, and it is being held at Rocky's Brooklyn Basin. They have a huge outdoor area that we study with. It also happens to be a Jewish woman-owned business, local Jewish woman-owned business. So another incentive to join us for Torah study, have a little coffee and pastry as well. 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. Next Saturday, Ezra Graham becomes bar mitzvah. So mazel tov to the Reichenberg Graham family, and there he is. And then we actually have 1 week break from B'nai Mitzvah, and then have a whole bunch starting again. So, what do we decide on Ador Lam? Is it just me, or it's... Okay. All right, so we're going to conclude with Adon Olam on page 269, and if you took the under, you won on the time. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Ve'nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nivra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Oveh Ve'hu Yiyeh V'tifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Le'amshilo Le'achbira Ve'li Reshit Ve'li Tachlit Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'am Yisra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Go'ali Ve'tzor Chevli Ve'et Zara Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi Ve'yom Ekra Ve'yado Afki Ruchi Ve'et Ishon Ve'ahira Ve'ibruchi Geviati Adonai Li Ve'lo Ira. Shabbat Shalom. And we're going to invite you to rise one more time. And we're going to invite Benjamin and Sabrina and Dahlia and Ariel to come up there, actually, right on the, where there's a Kiddush cup and bread. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam v'im v'min Yisrael oti le'olam oti le'olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam Sheshet yamim asa Adonai Rashamayim v'yet ha'aref v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam v'yom ha'shvi Shabbat v'yom ha'Shabbat ha'inafash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Sabri, L'chaim, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon. And you can go back down those stairs and into the social hall to pick up food for our fabulous Kiddush lunch. Mazel tov!